Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanie, and I am the blogger behind simplelivingmama.com. And in today's video, we are actually going to be talking about decluttering the kitchen. So if you've been following along with us, you know that every year I run a 30-day declutter challenge. And this week's challenge was to get our kitchens decluttered, as well as to create a morning routine for ourselves. So if you're still trying to get your kitchen decluttered, I really wanted to give you 10 of my best tips for doing that. And so I'm just gonna sit down, do this little sit down video with you guys and tell you how I go about decluttering my kitchen. I actually still have to do it myself. I have not had time this week to get that started. It's probably gonna be more of a weekend chore for me, or weekend job for me, because this was our first week back to homeschooling after the break. So yeah, it's been kind of crazy. But you know, the kitchen can be decluttered over the weekend if need be. So that is what I am planning on doing. So the first thing I want to talk about before I get into my tips is the supplies that I use to declutter. So I always start out with a trash bag, and I am looking at some notes. I made some notes for myself so I don't forget what I'm talking about. So if you see me looking off the screen, that's why. So I start off with a trash bag just to throw away any trash. I carry around my handheld vacuum cleaner. I have a little Dyson handheld vacuum cleaner. I love that thing. I know they make like cordless Dysons now that I think come apart. I have an old Dyson ball regular vacuum, and then a small handheld vacuum cleaner that I can use to clean out my drawers and stuff. So those are the two things that I start out with. I always take my favorite all-purpose cleaner. I like using Mrs. Meyer's all-purpose cleaner, and then a rag. So that way I can also wipe out the drawers and the cabinets as I'm decluttering them. So kind of kill two birds with one stone. Get the stuff out and decluttered, get the kitchen cabinet cleaned on the inside, because that's not something that we tend to do on a regular basis. So it's a good idea to do it while you're decluttering. Okay, number one, start in one section of your kitchen and work your way around the kitchen. So for me, I start at my coffee station. I'll clean out my upper cabinet that has all of our coffee mugs in it. And then I clean out all of the drawers in that area. And sometimes they tend to be a little bit messy if a tea bag has exploded in there, or some coffee grounds have found their way out in the drawer. I can get all of that stuff cleaned out, no problem. Okay, so I clean as I go. I'll take out all of the items that are on one shelf or out of one drawer, clean that shelf or drawer, and then put the items back that I'm planning on keeping. I'll put the trash in the trash bag, and then I'll have a separate, sometimes I use a cardboard box, sometimes I'll just set it on my island, and then I'll figure out if I'm gonna donate that item or if it needs to go to another spot because it was put where it doesn't belong. So that is what I do, and then I will move on to the next place. Okay, I'm gonna talk about medicine cabinets. Now, I don't know where you keep your medicine cabinet. In my last house, I had no room whatsoever in my kitchen, so I kept it in the bathroom, which really isn't the best place to keep medicines because it tends to get steamy in there. So now that we live here, I have a cabinet dedicated just to my medicines. And that tends to take me quite a while to go through because I have to get rid of expired medications, medications that are pretty much empty, but for some reason the bottles got put back and stuff like that. So I will clean out the medicine cabinet in much the same way. And then what I tend to do, since I'm not spending any extra money on this challenge and trying to purchase organizers or anything, I will take and group like medicines together. So I'll have the kids' medicines in one like a little container type thing. At one point I actually used old food storage containers. I since purchased like they're little crate looking things, I think. Okay, so one crate will have the kids' medicines, and then another crate will have like the with the cough and the cold medicines, and then another crate will have like the digestive medicines. So that is how I do my medicine cabinet in my kitchen. let's talk about the spice cabinet. With my spice cabinet, I'll throw away any spices that are really old and outdated. I don't tend to have a lot of those anymore because I cook a lot more at home now and I use spices up a lot more. But back when I wasn't cooking nearly as much, we'd end up with really old things that just needed to go. I'll clean off the Lazy Susan where I store all of my spices, and I actually don't like organize, categorize the spices because I know where they are and they're pretty easy to find because of that Lazy Susan. So that's what I do with that. I can quickly find them usually. Okay, we're going to talk about the pantry. So I don't really have a pantry. I have cabinets, but I use it like a pantry. So my biggest tip for decluttering the pantry is, once again, to group like items together and to put items in reusable containers. So I don't like to keep cereal boxes because one, the stuff can go stale pretty quickly, and two, it makes it easy to tell how much you have left of items when they're in clear reusable containers. So I put cereal in reusable containers, I put rice in reusable containers, oatmeal in reusable containers, and just things like that. Nuts, seeds, stuff like that. So those are really, really helpful for me. Also just basic baking items like flour, brown sugar, white sugar, and all of that. I used to have containers that I kept on my counter for those items, but I since decided not to keep those items on my counter. Now, I am not like a minimalist in the sense of everything has to be off my counters. I don't work like that. I'm constantly in my kitchen. I'm constantly cooking. I spend a lot of time in there. So I do have things that I keep out on my counters, but I do also try to keep them pretty cleared off. For me, what I keep on my counter is my KitchenAid mixer. That thing is too heavy to haul around, okay? So that stays on my counter. In some seasons, I'm using it 2 or 3 times a week. In some seasons, I may not be using it but once a month. It just depends, but it does live on the counter. My coffee maker lives on the counter. I use that at least twice a day. And then I do put a few little decorations up because I like the way they make me feel. I have a utensil caddy, constantly using those utensils because I'm cooking at least 2 meals a day, if not 3. And then I have a little tray that holds my butter dish and my salt and pepper and any other spices that I'm regularly using at the time. That stays right on the stove, or right beside the stove, excuse me. So easy access, easy to use. I know where it is. And that's how I roll in my kitchen. All right, let's talk about fridge and freezer cleaning and decluttering. Okay, this is some area that sometimes gets overlooked, but we do need to be regularly cleaning and decluttering our fridges and freezers, throwing out old nasty food, old nasty condiments, cleaning the fridge because it's very easy for it to get nasty. And while you're doing all of this kitchen decluttering, this is also a good time to go ahead and handle all of that, okay? Now, what do I use to actually clean the fridge? For this one, I use a mixture of water and vinegar. So I just have my plain old natural water vinegar cleaner. I don't have to worry about anything potentially toxic in the fridge, and it works just fine. Now, I don't regularly use water and vinegar on all of my surfaces anymore because one, we have granite counters now and I'm not sure how that would do, and two, my husband hates the smell of it. Even with essential oils in it, he told me he didn't like the way it smelled, so I found another option. But it is great for cleaning your fridge and for cleaning out your microwave, so I still use it for that. Okay, let's talk about storage container decluttering. This has got to be one of the hardest things to deal with in the kitchen because I don't know what it is, but I end up with a bazillion lids and only a few bowls every few months, and I'm just like, what has happened to everything? And I think think my kids are making off with those bowls or something. I don't even know. But now is a good time to go through your storage containers. Make sure that you have a lid for each one. Get rid of the things that are gross if you have plastic. If it ended up microwaved, it's probably gotten gross. Get rid of that. Get rid of the stuff that doesn't have a mate. And we actually have gone to glass storage containers recently. I like those a lot better, and we, for whatever reason, seem to be able to keep up with the lids and the bowls. The bowls don't just go missing like those plastic bowls did. So that is my tip for that. If you can, go glass. It also microwaves a lot better and it cleans up a lot better. Okay, so let's talk about plates and serving ware. Get rid of old nasty sippy cups. Some minimalists will say only have one plate, one cup, one bowl for each person in your home. I don't do that. I don't consider myself a minimalist. We went through tons and tons of plates and stuff. Just our different sets ended up getting destroyed because we would drop a bowl or drop a plate here and there. So we have switched over to Corel, which doesn't chip or crack, and it actually takes up a lot less space in the cabinet. So that is what we are doing right now. And we just go through and get rid of things that we're not using or we don't need anymore. And I try to keep extras on hand just in case we have company or whatever comes up. I like to have more than just one set per person. Okay, utensils and silverware, I don't have to declutter that because I think a lot of stuff gets thrown away on accident. Forks and spoons. We have a ton of butter knives, but I think the forks and the spoons get tossed on accident. So yeah, that's something I don't really have to declutter a lot, but I will go through and clean out the divider tray that I keep all of that in because for some reason it gets crumbs in it. I don't even know how that happens, but it does. Clean out, you know, if there are cooking utensils that we're not using, like certain ladles or stuff like that, then I'll get rid of those. But most of the time, I don't have to declutter that. All right, let's talk about under sink decluttering. So what do I keep under my kitchen sink? I keep flower vases and cleaning supplies. I don't keep anything else under there. And I don't keep all my cleaning supplies under there. I just keep some like extra dish soaps, dishwasher detergent, and like my Method wood cleaner and my Mrs. Meyer's all-purpose spray. That's really all I keep under the sink. And you know, just extra scrubby things stay under there as well. It's a good idea to go through if you've got cleaners or something under there that you're not using to dispose of those. You know, just go through it, clean it out, and get rid of things that you do not use or you do not want to keep. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of tips on cleaning and organizing the kitchen before I end today's video. My biggest tip for having a clean kitchen is to make sure you're regularly doing your dishes and cleaning off your countertops. And no, I don't mean making your countertops bare like nobody lives there. I just mean getting the ick and the crumbs and the clutter off. So yeah, I only keep the things on my counter that I use on a regular basis, and I already explained to you guys what I keep on my counter. It may be different for you. Maybe you use your blender twice a day or something and you need to keep it out on your counter. You know, that's a personal thing. Decide what you can live with on your counters and keep it that way. When stuff creeps up there that doesn't belong there, go put it up or get rid of it. If it's trash, shred it, or junk mail, shred it, get rid of it. Don't let stuff live there that doesn't need to live there. Okay, and finally, organize the kitchen in a way that makes sense to you. So you're gonna keep your pots and your pans by your stove, baking trays by the oven, dish cleaning stuff by the sink. That's how you need to organize your kitchen. Don't put your coffee pods on the wall opposite of your coffee maker, okay? So if you want to join our 30-day declutter challenge, I will have the link up in the cards and down in the description box below. I will also link to other decluttering articles and tips for you if you're interested in that. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.